Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. It's been a lot of fun watching the combine this weekend. I've had a really good time, scouting all the players. And that being said, a lot of stuff has changed with, positional rankings for me. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to go through my offensive positional rankings, and we're going to start with the quarterbacks here. So obviously, number one is going to be Joe Burrow. His accuracy is insane. Yes, his arm strength, I'd say, isn't the best in this class, but, it gets the job done enough where when he has that pinpoint accuracy, his pocket awareness and presence is off the charts. And I just think he's a solid player. Played very well in an entire season, no injuries. Knock on wood, that doesn't change. But obviously, he's super talented and far and away for me the number one quarterback in this class. At number two, we have Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama, another player that I really like. The injury is hurting him at the moment. I feel like there's still so many questions circulating that, but I feel like at the combine this week, he proved his worth. A lot of his interviews have seemed to gone really well. And, all the team's medical examiners said that the hip looks good and that, he's healing fast. And, he might even be ready for his pro day. So I feel like Tua Tagovailoa has a lot to prove, but is still, a solid quarterback in this class. Has good arm strength, not the best, and his accuracy is elite, just like Joe Burrow. So I feel like Tua can really be a top 5, top 3 pick in this draft. At 3, the guy that, a lot of people, put Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa in those top 2 tiers, and then Justin Herbert in that second tier. But to me, Herbert is a top tier quarterback, and I feel like he's proven that first at the Senior Bowl when he lit it up, one Senior Bowl MVP, one practice MVP, had just a great week over there, and then at the Combine, not only did he prove that he was more athletic than people thought, but he also proved that he can still throw the football just as good, if not better, than a lot of these quarterbacks in this class. Had a great day throwing on Thursday, and I think his stock is just going to continue to rise, and he's going to be a hard player to slip out of the top 10. I would be shocked if that happened. So I think Herbert is a top tier quarterback in this class, and maybe just as a little worse than Tua Tagovailoa, but still super solid. Great arm, and it's kind of the opposite where the first 2 quarterbacks have that great accuracy and a decent arm. Herbert has a rocket arm, and the only knock on him was really his accuracy and his decision making, but so far he's proven at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine that his accuracy can be just as lethal as anyone. So I think Herbert's a solid player, and I think he's definitely worth a top 10 pick. At 4, we have Jordan Love. Jordan Love has a solid arm and is an improviser in the pocket. He gets the job done. He can move all around, and we saw that in this season 2 years ago. He was very good, had a lot of talent around him, but he lost 9 starters on offense. And that kind of contributed. Actually, no, it probably did mostly contribute to the fact that he wasn't able to make as good decisions this year, through 17 interceptions. So I feel like there is a lot of questions. Jordan Love is raw, and it might take a year or 2 for him to get, settled into this league. But then again, Patrick Mahomes, we saw him come out of Texas Tech. He wasn't the best decision maker. He was raw. He had a rocket arm, and he can move outside the pocket just like Jordan Love. And I'm not saying Jordan Love is Patrick Mahomes, but there is a lot of similarities there. So I wouldn't put it past Jordan Love to be a great NFL quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying he might need a little more work than previously anticipated, if he were to come out last year, not this year. At 5, I have Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason is a beast, and we can click on his profile here just for a second. He is 6'6" and 227 pounds. A very tall, very strong quarterback. Has a great arm, up there with Herbert and Love for competing for the best arm in this class. And Eason is mobile too. He can move around in the pocket. We saw him run it all the time at Washington, and I like Eason a lot. He's just a big body, has a strong arm. I would say that the only knock on him right now is the accuracy, but it's still good. That deep accuracy is lethal. It's kind of that intermediate decision making that concerns me for Eason. But there is also the fact that he's immature. That's come out where some of his meetings didn't necessarily go well. But from what I've heard, he's working on his maturity, and he's getting better at that. So I feel like Eason can still be a solid player in this league, and definitely worth a late first or second round pick in my opinion. At 6, and this might come as a shock, but to me it's Anthony Gordon, and I'm hopping on the Washington State bandwagon, and Anthony Gordon had a historical season, put up just as good numbers. I think he might have even put up better numbers than Gardner Minshew. And he's in that air raid offense. Yes, that isn't NFL style, and yes, he's going to have to throw way less in the NFL than he did in college. But still, Anthony Gordon is a great quarterback, has already had those games where, he's throwing 50 times a game. That does happen in the NFL sometimes. You don't have to worry about his stamina and his ability to make plays late in the fourth quarter after he's already thrown the ball so much. He's super good. The decision making at Washington State isn't a problem just because Mike Leach draws up concepts that are so easy for these quarterbacks to understand, and they're able to make good decisions just because you usually have five wide, and that helps a lot, especially in the Pac-12 where the quarterbacks aren't necessarily great. But Anthony Gordon definitely is an NFL quarterback to me. I feel like he'll go late third, early fourth round, and maybe become a starter one day. I definitely think he's capable of being a starter in the NFL. I'm a huge fan of his. So Anthony Gordon is at 6. At 7, I have Jalen Hurts. And you might be saying Jalen Hurts had a great combine. Athletically speaking, yes, he did. And, throwing the ball, he wasn't terrible. He actually had a good day throwing. But to me, it's still a question mark when it comes to Jalen Hurts. He is athletic, and he can still throw the ball accurately, and he does have a decent arm. But Hurts' decision-making is a question mark for me. Some of the throws he made last year that he got away with at Oklahoma, you're not going to get away with in the NFL. Those they always say the windows are smaller, and that's true. It's not just the BS saying. Jalen Hurts is going to have to work on his decision-making. He's going to have to get better at, making plays. So I think Hurts is a solid player and is going to be the 7th quarterback in this class. And to me, he'll probably get drafted higher than Anthony Gordon just because, he has that athleticism. But this is just strictly quarterback rankings. I think Hurts is worth a 3rd round pick. And to me, Anthony Gordon is worth an early 3rd round as well. So I could even see Hurts going in the 2nd. So Hurts is definitely, going to get drafted higher than Gordon. But to me, Hurts is the 7th quarterback. At 8, we have Jake Fromm. I'm not a big fan of Fromm's. The arm isn't there, and when he tries to force it or tries to throw it hard, it seems that it isn't accurate most of the time. So to me, Fromm has a lot of question marks. I feel like the arm strength is definitely his biggest weakness right now. And then yes, his decision-making is probably the best in this class. He doesn't force balls all the time, but the accuracy still isn't even great to me. So I feel like it's definitely a work in progress for Jake Fromm, and there's just a lot that this kid needs to get better at. At 9, we have Brian Lewerke. Lewerke wasn't even close to my top 10, but I love what I saw from him at the combine. He was, comfortable making throws. He can make all the throws, intermediate, short, deep. It looked like he was playing very well. I like to see that out of him. I think he could be a solid backup in this league, maybe even get a chance to starter one day, but definitely worth like a 5th round pick to me, even a late 4th. I think Lewerke, proved his worth at the combine. He didn't have a great offensive line at Michigan State, was under pressure a lot, but he still put up good numbers year in and year out every time he was on the field at Michigan State. So I think Lewerke is going to be a decent quarterback and probably a lifelong backup, but still can be taken in this draft. And then finally at 10, Steven Montez to me, just because of his size and strength. I like Montez a lot, and I like the system that he was in at Colorado. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. And I think he can, be like Brian Lewerke, where I feel like he can get drafted somewhere, learn under a quarterback that's a veteran. And, Montez is a guy that needs a lot of work. His accuracy isn't great. He does have good arm strength, but once he starts learning the game, the ins and outs of the game, maybe he can be a starter in this league, but I don't see it happening. But yeah, I think he's definitely worth the 10th, or definitely is the 10th quarterback in this class. All right, guys, we're going to move along to running backs. And up first, we have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has been my first running back in this draft forever. I loved him at Wisconsin. And yes, I know it. People say Wisconsin runs the ball too much. These guys get worn out. But to me, Taylor is worth a first-round pick. I think he is seriously the best running back in this class. Had a great combine. Proved his athleticism there. Not only is he fast and explosive, but he has good patience and, hits holes hard. I love him a lot. And people are saying his receiving isn't good. Clearly, those people haven't watched the last season. He played really well in the receiving game. His hands were good. He got touchdowns. He made moves after catch. He got yards after catch. He's just a playmaker. And yes, he does have a fumbling problem. I'm not going to deny that. It's obvious that he does, but that can be worked on. I think just raw talent and, just running back, just being a good running back, Jonathan Taylor is the number one player in this class. At number 2, we have DeAndre Swift. I love Swift's physicality. Not only a good runner, but he's a good pass protector as well. Makes great blocks. I think he's super strong, super athletic, super shifty as well. Can get downfield and make people miss. So I think Swift is a full package running back, and probably he's going to be the first running back off the board in this class. With the third running back in this class, I'm going J.K. Dobbins, running back from Ohio State. Another guy that's super physical, especially for his size. I don't think he's over 6 feet. He's 5'10", 217 pounds. So that's not a lot of height and a lot of weight. But obviously he's not like fat or anything. He just runs hard and is physical and is super strong. I like the way Dobbins plays. He has a nose for the end zone. Doesn't give up on runs. Those feet are always moving. So I like Dobbins a lot. At the 3 spot. At 4, probably one of my favorite players in this class, Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. Another guy that's a super good pass protector, and to me, he's definitely the best receiving back in this class. He made so many plays out of the backfield for Joe Burrow last year, whether it was swings, whether it was deep routes, wheels. He could go over the middle, under the defense, under the linebackers. He just made plays consistently out of the backfield as a receiver, and he's also a good runner. This guy does not go down easily, has good balance, is able to make people miss, and break tackles. I think that's really important as a running back. And all 4 of these top guys are really good at breaking tackles, and I like them a lot. So I think Edwards-Helaire, back in the day when running back was such an important position, could even be a first-round pick. But now that the running back value is going down, I'd say Edwards-Helaire is late second at this point, but definitely is going to be a starter in this league. At 5, we have Cam Akers from Florida State. Akers was low on my board, but I've watched some of his film recently, and at the Combine, he impressed me a lot. Great footwork, great speed. He's explosive. I like him a lot. Not going to say much other than that, but I think he can be a solid running back in the NFL. At 6, we have Anthony McFarland. McFarland was out with injury last year at Maryland, but the year before, he had a great season. Yes, the injury is something concerning and something that scouts need to watch, but I think McFarland is super talented, gets through to the next level very quickly, super fast, and also is strong, can break tackles. So I think McFarland can be a starter in this league, and definitely is going to be something to watch with that injury, but I think I like McFarland a lot. At 7, we have Zach Moss, running back out of Utah. This guy is a beast, physical runner, more than a speed guy. Yeah, 5'10", 222 pounds, solid runner, hits people hard, lowers the shoulder, not afraid of contact, and I think he's a 3rd round, 4th round running back. So Moss is a good player that can make people miss. At 8, we have A.J. Dillon, another guy like Zach Moss, runs physically. He's taller than most of these. Yeah, he's 6 foot and 250 pounds, and I believe he ran in the 4.5s. So at that size, you're getting 4.5 speed, which is solid. A player that not afraid of contact, like Zach Moss, hits holes hard. So I like Dillon a lot. At 9, we have Benjamin from Arizona State. He is 5'9", 195 pounds, more of a shifty runner and elusive runner than the past 3 guys that I've talked about. Reminds me a little bit of Edwards-Helaire in the fact that, he doesn't look like he'd be fast or anything, but once he's on the field, he'll make people miss, and you're like, whoa, how did that happen? So I feel like he can be a backup for the first few years and then, really mature into a starter in this league. So I like Benjamin a lot. And then at 10, Joshua Kelly has a great story. Wasn't a D1 football player, convinced UCLA to take him, and then was really good at UCLA. He's 5'11", 214 pounds, more of a power back than anything else. But I like Kelly's story. I think he's going to continue rising up draft boards, and I think he's definitely the 10th or a top 10 runner in this class. All right, moving along to wide receivers, we have CeeDee Lamb at the number 1 spot. To me, it's a toss-up between him and Jeudy, but I'm going to solidify CeeDee as my number 1 wide receiver at the moment. Really solid player, like him a lot. Goes up and gets the ball, has that run after catch ability, makes people miss downfield. not afraid of being physical, getting on the catch, and also can go underneath. He's not only a deep threat; he's a versatile player that can really do it all. I like CeeDee a lot, and I think he's going to be definitely a number one in this league. At number 2, we have Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama. Judy's a super talented player, great route runner, a little less physical than CeeDee Lamb, but still can make plays downfield. He's also super shifty once he catches the ball, can make people miss, more so than CeeDee in my opinion. I like Jeudy a lot, and like I said, it's a toss-up between these two guys. They're super talented. It's rare that we have two great receivers, two receivers that could go top 10. That nearly never happens in this league, but I think CeeDee and Jeudy are both worth top 10 picks. At 3, we have Henry Ruggs. Dude's a beast. And, you can look back at the 40 times and say, all these guys that have ran the top 10 guys that have ran, sub 4.3 haven't had good NFL careers. And that is correct. But when you look at the way this league is going and, the players that are like Henry Ruggs, I think of Tyreek Hill. I think of Mecole Hardman, 2 Super Bowl champions last year. Henry Ruggs is a beast, super fast, goes underneath, can make plays downfield, and this guy has good hands. He hardly ever dropped a pass at Alabama. I think he's going to be good in the NFL. I think he can play that slot role very well. I think he can play the boundary role very well, and I like Henry Ruggs a lot. At 4, we have Justin Jefferson. Dude lit it up at the combine. Rich Eisen was talking about him, and so was Daniel Jeremiah. And they were like, this guy's going to run probably like 4.5. Didn't really expect him to run a 4.44. Justin Jefferson is a beast. I love him, or I like him a lot. I love him in any scheme, any system. I think he can play all over the field. Justin Jefferson, definitely a name to watch out for, and definitely the 4th wide receiver in this class. At 5, we have Laviska Shenault. Chenault's kind of a question mark for me right now just due to that surgery that he's getting. I'm sure it'll go well. I think they said it was like 6 to 8 week recovery period, so he will be ready for the draft, but he might miss a pro day, which is a little unfortunate, but he still worked out at the combine, ran the 40, which was slower than you would probably expect from Laviska. And that was probably because he needs surgery. So I think Shenault can be, a Deebo Samuel type player. He's really a tool. He can do jet sweeps. He can run swings. He can run screens. And then he's also a good wide receiver downfield. Can go over to the middle, really play that slot role. And he's also not afraid of contact. He'll go up and get footballs. So I like Laviska Shenault a lot. And all 5 of these guys are worth first-round picks, in my opinion. Another guy that's worth a first-round pick is T. Higgins. Higgins is a beast. I kind of want to see his height. Yeah, he's 6'4", 214 pounds or 215 pounds. Another guy that's not afraid of contact. He'll go up and get the football over you. He'll moss you. He's super talented, and he's also got good speed to him. Higgins did not work out at the combine, I don't believe, but someone to keep an eye out, especially on his pro day. I'm curious to see how he works out there, but definitely a first-round talent in my opinion. At 7, we have Denzel Mims. This guy is insane. He is 6'3", 206 pounds, and ran a sub 4.4 40 time. That is ridiculous. That's not something you see a lot. Super talented. I like what he brings to the table. He's versatile. He can play, the slot. He can go outside. And he can really do it all. He has speed. He has strength. I think Mims is a player that's going to be quickly rising up draft boards and maybe make an early second round, late first round appearance. At 8, we have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, Peoples-Jones is interesting to me, and I'm a Michigan fan, so I've watched Michigan fail for year after year, and Donovan Peoples-Jones has always been that bright spot. He had John or Josh O'Corn throwing him the football in his first 2 years, and then he had Shea Patterson, which, is an upgrade, but not really much of an upgrade the past year. So, to me, he's never really had a quarterback that can make him look good. And even in that, he's made plays. He's a great punt returner, and he's also a good wide receiver. He showed off his athleticism at the combine, had the highest vertical of a wide receiver since like 2006, and ran a great 40. So I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a player that, you just have to look at what he brings to the table as an athlete. And obviously the stats aren't there, but when you watch film, you can see that he's an okay route runner, and he has great hands. So I think Donovan Peoples-Jones can be a solid wide receiver / punt returner / flex kind of thing in the NFL. And I like him a lot. I'm excited about him, and I think he's rising up boards. At 9, I think Brandon Ayuk probably would have been like 7 for me at the start of the combine, but his speed really wasn't all that. great. I really thought he was going to be better. He's coming in at 6'0", 201 pounds, so or 6 foot, 201 pounds. So I don't think you would necessarily think him to be fast, but when he's on the field, he runs fast. He's a punt returner, like Peoples-Jones, kick returner as well, makes people miss. Also a solid route runner. I like Ayuk a lot. At 10, a total player, kind of like Henry Ruggs, just fun to watch, elusive down the field. KJ Hamler, super fast, super athletic. I like Hamler a lot, and I think he can be a solid type of player, maybe a Wes Welker type of player where you just have him go over the middle and just let him burn people. But I also think he can play on the outside if you want to let him fly. So I think Hamler is solid. His route running to me needs to be improved, but once he gets that down with that speed, it will be lethal. So I like Hamler a lot. All right, moving on to offensive tackle, and this did change after the combine. To me, Wills was the first tackle coming into this, but I like Mekhi Becton now. Becton is my guy. I knew his size and I knew his natural strength. He was 6'7", 369 pounds, but I did not know this guy had that athleticism. He is an insane athlete. Like insane, and it's going to be scary watching him on Sunday bring that speed and that strength to the table at the tackle position. He can play anywhere. Super talented. I like him a lot, and Mekhi Becton is a name to watch out for. I definitely think he'll be the first tackle off the board in this draft. At 2, we have Wills. Wills is just a solid player. He's 6'5", 320 pounds. He can play left tackle. He can play right tackle. Blocked for Tua's blindside at Alabama. So I think Wills is super versatile, super athletic as well. I think he ran low 5s for the 40 as well, like Becton. So I think Jedrick Wills can be a solid player in this league. At 3, we have Tristan Wirfs. This guy is one of my new favorite players in the class after that combine performance. Dude ran a 4.8, as an offensive tackle, and his size is what? He's 6'5", 322 pounds, and he moves like that. That is unfair. I wouldn't even mind watching Wirfs slide into guard. He's just super athletic. He can pull really well, and I think at the tackle position, he can also excel. So I think that Wirfs is going to be a lot of fun to watch in the NFL. He's a freak athlete and super talented. So I like Wirfs at the 3 spot. At 4, I have Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas has been, a long-time first-round talent to me. His run blocking is insane, probably the best blocking tackle in this class. But his pass blocking is just something he needs to work on a little bit. But I think Andrew Thomas is super talented, super strong, and not a bad athlete either. So definitely worth a first-round pick. At 5, I have Josh Jones. Josh Jones is another athlete, and I like these athletic tackles. They make plays. He's 6'5", 311 pounds. And I think when it comes down to it, these edge rushers are getting so athletic. You have to have some sort of speed and some sort of explosiveness when you're playing tackle in the NFL now. So I think Josh Jones is versatile, brings something to the table, and will probably be a late first, early second round pick. All right, moving on to the offensive guard or center position. This is my top interior offensive lineman of this class. Starting off with Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, another guy that I watched for a really long time, 6'4", 319 pounds. Stock is rising, had a good combine. I think he ran like 5.01, so super athletic, great pulling guard, and is also a really good run blocker. I think Cesar Ruiz is going to, go late first, early second. A lot of these tackles are going to go off the board before these interior offensive linemen, but I think this interior offensive lineman is, or class is underrated. I think there's a lot of talent in this class, a lot of talent that's, necessary being overlooked right now. So I think Ruiz is a sleeper, and I like him a lot. Another sleeper in this class is Lloyd Cushenberry, the third out of LSU. Another guy with great size and great athleticism, 6'3", 312 pounds. I think he's super talented. I think Cushenberry is going to be maybe even the first tackle or first interior offensive lineman taking off the board here. I think a lot of people view him better than Ruiz. I think Ruiz is just a little more athletic than Cushenberry, but Cushenberry brings a lot to the table. Good run blocker, and also protected Joe Burrow pretty well last year. So I like Cushenberry at the 2 spot. At 3, we have Nick Harris. Nick Harris is on the smaller side, but packs a punch with his strength. He's super strong. Another good athlete on this line, and I like Harris a lot. At 4, I have Jonah Jackson from Ohio State. Jackson to me is a solid player. His strength is good. His athleticism isn't, but I think Jackson is not, I'm not going to say his athleticism is bad because at Ohio State you saw him a lot. He was their pulling guard, so every time they would sweep it out to Dobbins, Jackson would be in front of him, and he did a very good job at lead blocking, getting out to the next level, and that's what they look at in these 40-yard dashes. They look at that 10-yard split, which is where offensive linemen, that first 10 yards, that first burst, is the most important because that's what's going to happen in a real game. And I shouldn't have said Jonah Jackson isn't athletic because I know I'm backtracking that all right now, but I think he's actually one of the better pulling guards in this class, and I think he's a solid run blocker. And is going to actually fly at boards. And at 5, I have Netane Moody, Fresno State guy. A guy that I feel like is kind of a sleeper. I think he's slept on. I think he might even be a first-round talent, I think he's super strong. I think he's a good run blocker, and I think he's underratedly a good pass blocker. So Netane Moody, a player to watch out for in this class. So wrapping up the offense, we're going to do our top 5 tight ends in this class. And this is all post-combine, just remember that. So a lot has changed with my rankings, but Bryson Hopkins has not changed. Still my number 1 tight end, still an athlete, a player that I like a lot, and I think he's going to be fun to watch on Sundays. At number 2, Adam Troutman, a guy that's rising up my board. He's 6'5", 251, and he is a great blocker, one of the better blockers in this class. And, we saw that on the combine. A lot of those guys couldn't move that sled, mainly because that sled was broken. But Troutman somehow was able to move it. I think Troutman brings a lot to the table and reminds me a little of maybe George Kittle, where he was more of a blocking tight end, but it's proving that he's also got hands. So I think Troutman is a sleeper and someone to watch out for in this class. At 3, Thaddeus Moss is just a pure athlete, not much of a blocker, but isn't terrible at blocking, but is really just, that 4th receiver that you can put in your offense, and that seems to be the direction that a lot of teams are going at tight end. So I feel like he's going to be intriguing for a lot of teams, maybe a late 2nd, early 3rd pick here, but I like Thaddeus Moss a lot. At 4, we have Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame, another guy that's a solid blocker. I like Kmet's blocking capability, 6'4", 235 pounds, but he's also a solid receiver as well. We saw him make plays all the time with Ian Book last year at Notre Dame, solid player, and I like him a lot. And then finally, wrapping up the tight ends, Hunter Bryant, a guy that's like Thaddeus Moss, in which he's more of a receiver than a blocker. But again, that's the direction most people go. People aren't really looking for these solid blocking, straight up blocking tight ends anymore. They're looking for these guys that can make plays downfield, be like that 4th wide receiver. And Hunter Bryant is exactly that. Great route runner, maybe one of the better route runners in this class at tight end. So I think Hunter Bryant is another name to watch out for. All right, guys, that's going to do it for my positional rankings for the offense. The defense will be coming out Monday along with my mock draft, so stay tuned for that post-combine mock draft, 2 rounds with trade, so I'm excited to release that. But take it easy, guys. Peace.